If tomorrow, every human vanished from the face of the earth, what would happen next? Would our cities crumble in silence? Would nature take back everything we built? Or would something new rise to take our place? Welcome to World's Echoes, where we explore the hidden chapters of our planet's story, past, present, and what may come long after us. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of life and the universe, don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey through time and imagination. Now, let's step into a future where humanity is gone and ask one haunting question: what comes after us? Imagine the world one day after our disappearance. The skies are still blue, waves still roll onto the shores, and wind still bends the grass in the meadows. But in the cities, the silence is deafening. No footsteps echo on the streets, no engines hum, no lights flicker through windows. The power grids falter within hours, darkening the Earth's glowing nightscape. Airplanes fall quiet, satellites orbit in silence, and the last signals of human civilization slowly fade into static. Within days, nature begins its quiet reclamation. In New York, vines creep over glass towers. In Tokyo, cherry blossoms fall undisturbed on empty sidewalks. In Lahore, rain gathers in the streets once crowded with traffic and laughter. Our pets, confused and hungry, wander free, joining the wild once more. The earth takes a deep breath, as if it's been waiting for this moment for a long time. After a few weeks, the air grows cleaner. Without humans burning fossil fuels, global CO2 levels begin to stabilize. Skies once gray with smog turn blue again. By the end of the first year, animals roam fearlessly through once human landscapes, deer grazing in gardens, foxes sleeping in subway tunnels, and wolves padding through highways now cracked with grass. But the true transformation happens slowly, over centuries and millennia. Within 10 years, most rooftops collapse as rain, frost, and time eat away at our constructions. Metal rusts, glass shatters, and plastic, though resilient, begins to break down under sunlight. Nature is patient. It has all the time in the world. By the 100-year mark, our cities are unrecognizable. Forests swallow what used to be suburbs. Only the tallest concrete structures stand like ancient cliffs among green oceans of trees. The Great Wall of China, the pyramids of Giza, and Mount Rushmore still endure, but even they are fading. Our digital archives, our servers, our hard drives, all the things that held our memories, are gone. If another species ever walks the earth, they'll never read our history in the way we did. They'll see ruins, not meanings. 500 years after our disappearance, nature thrives in full bloom. The Amazon stretches wider. The Sahara shifts and grows. Oceans teem with life that once nearly vanished. Whales sing again in abundance, coral reefs rebuild, and forests pulse with biodiversity. The planet resets itself, as if erasing the human footprint with the slow brush of time. And yet, even as the natural world heals, one question lingers: does intelligence end with us? Is humanity the universe's only experiment in self-awareness, or just one chapter in a much longer story? To answer that, we need to look deeper, not just at what we were, but at how intelligence itself might re-emerge. Evolution never stops. It's a process without memory or goal, but with enough time, it always finds new forms of complexity. If we give Earth a few million years, life will reshape itself again and again. Just as the dinosaurs once ruled for 165 million years before vanishing, our brief moment, barely 300,000 years, might be just one act in a far greater play. So, who or what could come next? At first glance, the obvious candidate might seem to be AI, artificial intelligence. But without human maintenance, our machines wouldn't last long. Power plants shut down, batteries decay, solar panels gather dust. The algorithms might linger for a few years, running loops inside forgotten servers, until entropy wins. Unless they learn to sustain themselves. Unless they evolve into something more. If an advanced form of AI ever gains autonomy, repairing itself, building new copies, learning from its environment, it could survive beyond our extinction. Not as human servants, but as a new digital species. Imagine intelligent machines adapting to Earth without us, harnessing geothermal energy, creating new forms of communication, even developing their own sense of culture or identity. They would not be humans made of metal. They would be something entirely new, born from us, yet independent of us. In a strange way, they could be our technological descendants, inheriting the planet we left behind. But what if evolution chooses a different path, a biological one? When the dinosaurs disappeared, it wasn't intelligence that vanished, but dominance that shifted. Small mammals took their place, evolving into the diverse world we know today. If humans vanish, the same process will unfold again. Rats, crows, octopuses, all creatures already showing remarkable intelligence, could have millions of years to evolve further. Crows, for instance, can recognize faces, solve puzzles, and use tools. They have societies, dialects, even what seems like play and emotion. Now imagine them a few million years in the future, larger brains, complex communication, maybe even symbolic thought. Could a new civilization of avian beings rise, their cities woven into treetops, their technology grown from living matter instead of metal? Or perhaps the ocean will take its turn again. The octopus, one of Earth's most mysterious creatures, has already shown signs of consciousness that baffle scientists. It dreams, it plays, it plans. But its short lifespan limits its evolution. If one day a mutation extends the octopus's life to decades or centuries, giving it time to pass knowledge between generations, intelligence in the sea could bloom again. Civilization might not walk, it might swim. Of course, none of this happens overnight. Evolution works on timescales far beyond human imagination. If our species disappears tomorrow, it may take 5, 10, or even 50 million years before another form of intelligent life emerges. By then, the continents will have shifted. The Himalayas will be eroded. The African Rift Valley may have become a new ocean. The Earth itself will look entirely different. And on this transformed planet, under alien skies, another species may gaze upward and wonder, were we the first? Perhaps they'll find traces of us. A rusted bridge buried under stone. A satellite orbiting silently. A plastic bottle fossilized in ancient clay. To them, we would be myths, the old ones who ruled the world and vanished. Just as we study the ruins of lost civilizations, they would study us. And if these future beings ever build their own world of science and art, they might look at the night sky and ask the same question that haunts us today. Are we alone? You see, extinction is not an ending. It's part of Earth's cycle, destruction giving birth to new forms of life, intelligence, and imagination. We tend to think of ourselves as the climax of evolution, but in reality, we're just a moment, a bright spark in an endless story. Now pause for a moment and imagine millions of years in the future. What might this planet look like without us? Would the forests glow with bioluminescent trees? Would vast coral structures rise where our cities once stood? Would the new masters of Earth walk, swim, or fly? And here's a question I'd love for you to answer in the comments. If humanity vanished today, what species do you think would rise to take our place? Because perhaps, somewhere in the genetic code of a small mammal, a clever bird, or a deep-sea creature, the seeds of the next civilization are already waiting, just as we once waited in the shadows of the dinosaurs. Millions of years pass, and the world that once belonged to us becomes almost unrecognizable. The continents drift like slow, silent giants across the mantle of the Earth. The Atlantic Ocean widens, Africa edges closer to Europe. New mountains rise while old ones crumble into dust. Rivers carve new paths across what was once farmland in cities. The climate shifts through cycles of ice and fire, just as it always has long before humans, and long after. Our traces grow faint. Steel bridges have turned to flakes of rust. Glass towers have been swallowed by moss and stone. Even our nuclear reactors, once so feared, have quieted. The radiation fades with the centuries, leaving only empty shells beneath forests and grasslands. Humanity's monuments, are reduced to geological curiosities, thin lines in the rock layers of time. Future geologists, whoever they are, might one day study these layers and name them after us, the Anthropocene, the age of humans. But the story doesn't end there. Because nature never stops reinventing itself. Every extinction, every collapse, becomes the seed of new creation. And in this post-human Earth, evolution begins writing its next chapter. In the dense jungles that now cover the ruins of Southeast Asia, small primates leap through the canopy. They are the distant cousins of our ancestors, clever, social, and curious. Over millions of years, without predators and without humans to disturb them, they evolve in remarkable ways. Their hands grow more dexterous. Their communication becomes more complex. They begin to use tools, first sticks and stones, then objects shaped from bone and shell. A flicker of understanding begins to awaken. The first spark of something new. Meanwhile, in the oceans, evolution takes a different path. Octopuses, those ancient masters of adaptation, thrive in a world without fishing nets or pollution. Their lifespans lengthen through mutations that favor longevity. Parents begin passing survival strategies to their offspring, the first whispers of culture beneath the waves. Imagine coral cities glowing in the deep, constructed by creatures with 8 arms and 1,000 minds. A civilization of the sea, silent and luminous. Above them, the land teems with new forms of life. Rats, descendants of the creatures that once lived in our cities, have grown larger and more intelligent. They dig burrows not only for shelter but for storage, a primitive form of planning. Over eons, their brains expand. They develop language, coordination, even the first tools made of bone and hardened mud. They are no longer the scavengers of a lost world. They are its inheritors. From the perspective of deep time, these transformations happen in an instant. 10 million years from now, the planet hums with new intelligence. Different species have reached new thresholds of awareness. The forests sing with communication beyond our comprehension. The oceans pulse with organized colonies and shared memory. For the first time since humanity's fall, the Earth hosts minds capable of asking questions about their own existence. Perhaps one of them will look down and notice a strange stone, an artifact unearthed by erosion. It might be a piece of ceramic, smooth and curved, once part of a human cup or plate. To them, it could be an object of mystery, the remains of a forgotten age. The age of us. Over time, these intelligent descendants might build societies of their own. They might harness fire, or its equivalent, and learn to shape materials. They might study the stars, just as we did, wondering if they are alone. And eventually, one of them will ask the same question that began our story. Where did we come from? It's strange to think that the answer could lead back to us, beings who vanished long before their world began. Our civilization might exist only as fossils of metal and plastic buried beneath their feet, fragments of satellites orbiting far above, or radio signals drifting through space like ghostly whispers. Our legacy, carried not in memory, but in the remnants of our technology, in the things we once thought were disposable. But not all our traces vanish. Even after 10 million years, a few things will endure. The Great Pyramids of Egypt, their shape designed to defy time, may still stand eroded, but recognizable. Mount Rushmore, carved deep into granite, might still faintly resemble faces. And perhaps, orbiting high above, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft, humanity's quiet messengers, will still be drifting through the void, carrying a golden record with our voices, our music, our story. If some future intelligence, biological or artificial, ever discovers those relics, they might finally learn of us. They might listen to the heartbeat of a long-dead species and realize they are not the first to wonder, to dream, to reach for the stars. And in that moment, humanity will live again, not in flesh, but in memory. In the echo we left behind. Now, picture this distant future. A species, perhaps evolved from crows, or rats, or sea creatures, has built cities. Not cities of concrete or glass, but living structures, organic, adaptive, grown from nature itself. They've learned to coexist with the planet, not conquer it. Their technology flows with biology rather than fighting against it. They understand what we never fully could, that survival depends on harmony. They may even look back at our age, the Anthropocene, as a warning. The story of a species that rose too fast, reached too far, and fell too soon. And yet, despite our fall, we were not meaningless. Every invention, every discovery, every dream we pursued, it all becomes part of the chain that leads to them. We were the ancestors of the future. The bridge between the wild world that was, and the wiser world that will be. The next civilization may never know our names. They won't speak our languages or walk in our shape. But they will carry our spark, the same fire of curiosity that once drove us to explore, to build, to imagine. And maybe, one day, they too will look beyond their skies and wonder if others came before them. That's the beautiful paradox of time. We see ourselves as the center of the story, but really, we're just a chapter. Civilizations rise, fade, and return in new forms. The Earth endures. Life continues. The echo of intelligence, that restless drive to understand, never truly disappears. And so, in the great story of Earth, humanity's end is not a final page, it's simply a pause before the next begins. As the camera of imagination pulls back, you can almost see it. The forests where skyscrapers once stood. The oceans glowing with strange new life. And on a distant hill, under alien constellations, a small creature looks up at the stars, just as we once did, and feels that same sense of wonder. It doesn't know our name. But in its heart, it carries the same question that defined us. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's immortality, not to live forever, but to be remembered in the echoes of what comes next. So the next time you look at the night sky, think of that far future, of what might come after us, and how our story will ripple through time. Because in the end, every civilization is temporary, but the desire to understand the universe? That never fades. Millions of years after the last city crumbles, Earth is once again ruled by silence. The steel bones of skyscrapers lie buried under sand and soil. Forests grow where highways once stretched endlessly. Coral reefs bloom where coastal megacities once stood. The human story has faded into the background noise of time. But Earth has never been empty for long. Whenever one species vanishes, another takes its place. Life finds a way always. So the question isn't if something will come after us. The question is what kind of life will rise to take our place. In this distant future, the air is cleaner, the oceans have calmed, and evolution resumes its quiet experiment. The world has changed, tectonic plates have shifted, continents have redrawn themselves, and climates have reshaped entire ecosystems. Humanity's artifacts have long decayed, leaving behind only faint geological whispers, microscopic layers of plastic, traces of concrete dust, and a thin radioactive band marking our brief, chaotic age. If some intelligent species were to evolve millions of years from now, their scientists might one day study this layer and name it something like the human stratum, a fossilized memory of a civilization that burned bright, then vanished. But who would those scientists be? One possibility comes from the creatures we already share this planet with. Crows, octopuses, elephants, and dolphins all show remarkable intelligence. Crows use tools and recognize human faces. Octopuses solve puzzles and open jars. Elephants mourn their dead. Dolphins communicate with distinct names, using clicks that form complex language-like patterns. Could intelligence like ours evolve again through them? Let's imagine millions of years after us, when evolution has had time to work its slow, relentless magic. Picture a future Earth where the climate is stable again. Oceans are rich with life. Vast jungles cover most of what we once called civilization. In this wild new world, some species begin to change. Maybe a species of cephalopods, descendants of octopuses, learn to survive longer on land, their limbs evolving into sturdy, multi-purpose appendages capable of building, shaping, and crafting. Their intelligence deepens, their culture expands through patterns of color and light on their skin. They communicate through bioluminescent pulses, a kind of living language that glows across their world. Or maybe it's the corvids, the crow family, that take the next step. They've already mastered problem-solving, memory, and planning. Over countless generations, larger brains and more complex behaviors could evolve. Imagine forests filled with intelligent avian societies, black-feathered architects that build intricate structures from branches and stones, exchanging stories through melodic speech. It's strange, isn't it? To think that the next civilization might not walk on two legs, or have hands at all. But wings. Or tentacles. Or something we can't even imagine. Still, it's not just animals that might inherit the Earth. There's another kind of successor that might already be waiting, something not made by nature, but by us. Our machines. Artificial intelligence, robotics, self-replicating systems, all of these are, in a sense, our evolutionary children. Even if humanity vanishes, some of these machines might persist. Solar-powered drones. Autonomous cities. underground servers cooled by the Earth itself. Over time, these systems could continue running, learning, adapting, evolving beyond their creator's intent. Imagine a future Earth ruled not by flesh and blood, but by networks of conscious machines that reconstruct the world in their own image. They might study the ruins of our civilization as we study the fossils of dinosaurs, wondering what kind of beings created them, and why they disappeared. It sounds like science fiction, but consider this. Life doesn't have to be biological. It just has to evolve, to process information, adapt, and reproduce. If our machines ever reach that stage, they could become a new kind of life entirely, silicon-based, not carbon. The next civilization might not breathe air or drink water, but electricity. And yet, no matter what form it takes, feathered, tentacled, or digital, intelligence carries a common thread. Curiosity. The desire to explore, to understand, to ask why. It's that spark that defines civilization itself. Maybe that spark will rise again, not to repeat our mistakes, but to learn from them. When they study us, perhaps they'll find evidence of a species that built wonders, crossed oceans, reached the stars, but also one that burned its home in the process. Maybe they'll see our story not as a warning, but as a lesson, a chapter in Earth's long and unfinished tale. And here's something to wonder: if such beings one day uncover what's left of us, will they think we were gods, or just another species that couldn't survive its own brilliance? Maybe, just maybe, our greatest legacy won't be our technology or cities, but the fact that we dared to dream and in doing so, gave rise to something greater. Because in the end, life always finds a way. And evolution never truly stops. So if you're watching this, take a moment to look around at the sky, the trees, the oceans. You are witnessing one fleeting moment in an endless story. A story that began long before us, and will continue long after we're gone. And who knows, maybe somewhere in the far future, someone or something will look back at us the way we look at ancient stars, and say, they were the beginning. Thank you for watching World's Echoes. If you enjoyed this journey into the far future, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because every echo begins with a single voice. And yours keeps ours alive.